morning, sisters. My apologies for being a couple minutes late. Again, I don't know what's going on with this Facebook Live, but every time I try and do it live, my computer freezes up lately, or there's all this lag. So anyway, here I am. Let's wait and see if anyone comes on. And I am making plans. Once I get Mother Spirit set and underway, we begin on June 21st, the summer solstice. So once everyone is onboarded and that's put together, then I'm going to look at some other alternative for us gathering besides a Facebook group. So good morning, sisters. Let's see if you can hear me and you can see me. Would you please write in the message there and let me know? Again, been having a little bit of trouble. So with the Facebook Lives for a while now, actually, it's not based on where I am. It seems to be, I don't know, seems like it freezes up. So I'm just going to wait here for a moment. And we have some sisters coming on. Welcome. Hi, Amy. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Am I fractalated or frozen, or is it working? And other sisters, if you'd let me know as well. We'll just wait another moment and then begin. Yeah, there seems to be some kind of delay. Can hear and see. Great, thank you. Okay, so let's begin with some grounding and centering just to get present, bring our energies close together into the center of self and with each other. So go ahead and tune inward for a moment. And you can close your eyes if that feels good to you, just to give yourself permission to go inside. Taking a nice deep breath to expand and open the lungs, really receiving that breath of life. Stretching those lungs to capacity, filling them all the way to the bottom with air. And then as you exhale, really emptying yourself completely. It's almost like you're exercising your lungs a little bit. And again, breathing in. Exhale. Full exhalation. Full inhalation. One more in the lungs. Inhaling. Opening and receiving that life force energy, that oxygen, the blessed breath of the trees that bring us breath. Exhaling to release. And now bringing your attention to your lower abdomen area, or your womb space, your sacral chakra, your second chakra. As you breathe in now, imagine light coming down from the crown of the head and filling your pelvic bowl. Breathe in. And on the exhale, send that out the root chakra like a root going down to the bottom of Mother Earth, to her heart center, her crystalline core, offering that light to her. Again, breathing in, drawing in light down from the crown all the way down to expand and fill the pelvic bowl. Exhale to drop all of that energy down through the root chakra and your root, going down to the core of Mother Earth. Releasing what you no longer need and connecting with her crystalline core to allow her to send energy up through that root and feed you. So now as you inhale, draw energy up from her, through the root, all the way up, till you feel it pressing against the base of the spine, and exhaling that energy up through your chakras and out the crown of the head. That's right. Again, inhaling to draw the energy up. exhaling to send that energy up, 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 out the crown of the head. And we're going to do 2 more breaths together. On this next inhale, you're drawing energy up from Mother Earth, down from the heavens to meet in the heart center. At the expanded inhale, inhaling into the heart, exhaling to send those energies on their way, creating that beautiful spiral dance of the life force energy of the soul, spirit, eternity, and the earth body physical experience. Again, inhaling into the heart space, exhaling. Beautiful. And inhaling again into the heart space. And as you exhale, opening your eyes. Welcome, sisters. Okay, so I'm here in my little house in the big forest with my new altar where I have the 5 goddesses I worked with my beautiful other sister friends on my retreat in Sedona last week. And now creating this altar with Saraswati and Durga and Tara and Lakshmi and Isis. And so I've been working with these 5 goddesses for a while, continuing to work with them, really tuning into what wants to be nourished, nurtured, cleared, clarified for this summer season, both in terms of what I want to bring forward for our community as well as, my inner work. So let me welcome Ayala, welcome Monica, welcome. We have looks like a pretty small group today, I think because I missed a couple of weeks and started late today, but welcome, sisters. I'm so glad to have you here, and of course Amy is here. We'll see if some other sisters come on board. Okay, so let's see. Good morning, Bet. Welcome, sister. Good to have you here. Okay, so today's topic is the 4 stages of consciousness. And the subhead was cooperation with tyranny and global control, which sounds pretty heavy. I just want to tune into what needs to be brought forward today with the focus on the 4 stages of consciousness. And as always, our role as priestesses, as feminine spiritual frequency holders in these times. So wonderful to have you here, Amy. Okay, so the 4 stages of consciousness that I'm going to be sharing with you come from the evolutionary paradigm, the evolutionary astrology paradigm, which was brought forward by a man named Jeffrey Wolf Green. He's the founder of evolutionary astrology, and that's the kind of astrology that I study. And of all the different kinds of astrologies I've studied, this one resonates with me so deeply because it is about the soul's evolutionary journey over multiple incarnations. And the soul signatures we see in the chart, the trauma signature from other incarnations, what the soul wants to evolve to, the challenges, the strengths, that kind of thing. So this is not an astrology talk, but I want to introduce you to, and some of you may have heard this before, if you've had personal readings with me, you'll be familiar with this. One of the framing concepts that I feel is very helpful for these times we are in. Welcome, Inga. Hi, Maria. Welcome. Okay, so good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all of you who are showing up. The group is, there's more sisters coming on the line now. So, the 4 stages of consciousness. So, according to this paradigm, and when I look in the world, this is a very helpful framework for me, especially when we see what's going on. So, we have in the 4 stages, the first stage, which is a very, very small percentage, can often be seen as sort of new souls, if you will, on this earth plane, or a very, very innocent consciousness where there's not a lot of what we call, I guess, frontal lobe stuff. So these people can manifest as Down's syndrome or other mental conditions where they are not, we see them as sometimes not functional in regular society. They're all heart They're not in a consciousness state that lets them navigate the strong left brain of this world in an easy way. They're a very small percentage of the planet, and as I observe what's happening on the planet, I feel like that they bring a kind of innocence, and a blessed innocence, a heartfulness that is anchoring a certain kind of frequency here, for us. And that's always been the case. I think it's probably always been the case on the planet that there's a small percentage. And I don't know what the numbers are, but it could be like 2 or 3%. It's quite small. Then the next consciousness group represents the masses, the vast majority of humans on the planet, and it's 70 or more percent. And that's what is called the consensus state. When Green first wrote his first book, Pluto, The Evolutionary Journey of the Soul, he referred to this as the herd state, but I think that's a bit politically incorrect. You know, like the herd of cows or the herd of sheep or whatever. Within this state, there are 3 different sort of levels of, you know, there's like level 1, level 2, level 3. We're not going to break that down too much. But anyway, it's the consensus state. It's the general consciousness of humanity. The people who, they go along with the crowd. They believe what they're told. They don't ask questions. They abnegate their authority to their personal authority to external authorities. They follow mainstream beliefs, religions, etc. They have sort of what we could call regular jobs. Now, some of the rest of us have regular jobs too, but it's the consensus state. It's the masses. Then we have what's called a smaller state, which again, I'm not sure the percentage, but it's a relatively small, 7, 8, 10%, something like this, 10, 12%, is what are called the individuated. I think it's more like 10 or 12%, 12 or 14, it's something in there, are in the individuated state. And this is as the soul evolves. So you want to think about that this paradigm, this 4 states of consciousness, is related to it's based on the principle that we live many, many, many incarnations, hundreds, thousands of them. So if that is weird to you, then just at least play along with me for this to get the concept. You can always throw it out if it doesn't resonate for you, right? This individuated state, they're no longer following the herd. They have moved through the 3 stages of complete cooperation and obedience, unquestioned obedience to authority, into a level of sort of within the consensus state, a little bit more self-reliance, to the 3rd state where they become leaders of the consensus state, into the kind of people who may be looking more at personal development, self-actualization, self-sovereignty, no longer willing to abnegate their personal authority to external authorities, that kind of thing. But they're not necessarily spiritual, and maybe not at all. They might be very scientific oriented, or they might be atheist or agnostic, but religion or spirituality, they may actually reject it. So they, especially first stage individuated, are the real rebels, and they often end up in trouble. Actually, it can be in prison and stuff like that, because they don't have a self-monitoring system. They're just rejecting the consensus through rebellion. Then you get with a 2nd level of individuated, where they're starting to figure out that if I just rebel against the consensus state, I find myself in jail. I find myself having trouble. So they're still, they're not going along with the consensus state, but they're beginning to have some more self-awareness. And then the 3rd stage is really much more that personal self-actualization. And you can see this in the human potential movement and personal development, and these famous gurus who write books and become famous. I don't have to drop names, you know who they are, but they're not necessarily spiritual. Then you move into the spiritual state, or spirituated, I've heard it called also. The first level is really the seeker, the spiritual seeker. And this is what many of us are. And many of us born in this incarnation come from 3rd stage individuated and are moving into 1st stage spiritual. And some of us had that early in life, some of us it's fast, some of it's slow. And you may feel yourself bridging that. I mean, yeah, well, we'll talk about, maybe I'll share my thing, but I'm clear that I'm very much in that first stage, individuated, or spiritual rather, moving into second stage. Second stage spiritual are the spiritual teachers and leaders. Sometimes in the second stage spiritual, that's where we see the fall of the guru, or guru, as Americans often say, the guru, G-U-R-U, the teacher, the spiritual teacher. So think about these gurus who, they end up taking a fall. You find out that, they're actually sleeping with all of their followers, that kind of thing. They have, second stage spiritual often have spiritual powers, or what are called siddhis, S-I-D-H-I, I think it's pronounced, or spelled. The siddhis, the superpowers, like they can levitate, they can read minds, they can bilocate. They start to cultivate very superpowers because they've been working over many lifetimes to get to that point. So they're fully in that second stage. They're moving to the third stage, which is the master. And some who have that fall, what it is, at least according to Jeffrey Wolf Green, is the final purification of the ego and the ego's drive for power, such that they have to have a deep humiliation, a deep fall, in order to fully surrender that ego, so that they can, in their next incarnation, come to the third stage, the fully self-realized master that no longer needs to incarnate anymore. So I would love to hear from you all. I'm going to take a pause here right now and ask for your clarifying questions, or leave me a comment here. Does that make sense? So remember, we have the four stages, or the four stages of consciousness. The first is that sort of new, innocent, sometimes presents as mental, quote unquote, disability, but they're very heartful and they anchor a certain kind of heart frequency on this planet. Very innocent, loving. Second stage, consensus state, the masses. Again, and within those, there's 3 levels. Third stage, individuated. Again, 3 levels. Fourth stage, spiritual, 3 levels. So I would like to hear from you if that explanation makes sense, and if you have any questions before we move on to the next topic, because this is contextualizing the next pieces that I wanted to bring in today. Even if you just give me a thumbs up that it makes sense. Hi Inga, hi, I think I said already. Hi Inga, hi Maria, hi Amy, hi Bet, hi Monica, hi Ayala. I know there are more of you here now. So any questions? Is this making sense? Can you even hear me anymore? I haven't seen a comment in a while. Please let me know. Okay. Not getting any comments. Oh, here we go. Bet says, yes, this resonates. Okay, thanks, Bet. Gina Price, yes, we can hear you. Hey, Gina, welcome. Okay, so that's interesting. Yes, we can hear you. So I wonder if now when it plays, it starts from the beginning when people come on. Amy says it makes sense. Monica gives me the thumbs up. Yeah, I think there's a really strong delay. Okay, great. Someone else gave a thumbs up to Amy's it makes sense. So, okay, good. So if other questions come up for you around this, let me know. So now I want to talk about the heavy stuff. Cooperation with tyranny and global control. Woohoo! All right, I need to tune in now to really come from the heart for this part because it's a little heavy and, okay. Okay. So in the last live stream I did, which was Saturday last week because I drove over here on Sunday, I made a mention that I'm really going to start to not censor so much my truth around what's going on the global scale. That I am not buying and have never bought into the dominant narrative that the consensus state is running around terrified of. If there is a pathogen that was harmful, as we look back over the course of the year, we find that globally the mortality rate is no different than any other year. Every year, people die of something called the flu. Every year, many people die of certain things. This planet is not a planet for us to live forever. It is a temporary walk, and it is often, as Jesus refers to it, it is the ego's playground. It is not the place of ultimate truth, for we are divine, eternal beings having a temporary experience in form, evolving ourselves back toward the one. I talk about there's one road. You're either going away from the divine, or at some point when you've exhausted all your separating desires, another concept that unifies the teachings of Jesus with the evolutionary astrology paradigm. Exhausting all of our separating from God desires, we turn around and we start heading back. That's when we go from consensus states and into individuated and spiritual state as we come back. So here we are on this planet where sorry about that. I didn't close the window. My husband's moving the truck. If you hear that, I don't know. Here we are at a point on the planet where there is such a level of control and fear paradigm that people are willingly cooperating with experimental jabs that have no proven success rate, but indeed on animals have proven to kill them. And yet people are running to get these things, or they were originally, and bragging about them on social media. This is consensus state consciousness. And it comes from, in consensus state, we identify entirely with the physical body and the egoic consciousness. So in other words, we identify only with this, like if I were in consensus state, I would believe that I am only Dawn with Dawn's personality and Dawn's ego, and when I die, it's the worst thing in the world. In the spiritual state, we begin to understand that this being, this physical body called Dawn that's aging and has some neck wrinkles now, is a temporary experience, and that the egoic identity that has all the stories, the dramas, the fears, the judgments, the things that make me happy, for temporarily, they all fall away when this body, when I, capital I, shed this body and move on to my next experience. So in the consensus state, with the identity based in the body, based in the egoic consciousness, the worst case scenario is what? To die. The biggest fear is what? To die. Even sometimes with a religion that says, when you die, you get to go back to God and be in heaven and stuff, there's still all this fear. And so it's very easy to control people with fear of death. And that's what we see going on. And then we see the truthers. Often, many of them are in what you would call that individuated state. They're not in consensus state. They're like, I smell a rat. I don't buy this BS. But they're not necessarily in the spirituated state. Some are, some aren't. Again, there's phases. It's not rigid. It's a spectrum. So they're the ones who are out there fighting, rebelling, calling BS on what's going on. And then there are those who move in deeply into the spirituated state, who start to realize, like, I have to hold a field of a much higher frequency than rebellion and fight alone. Although I may desire to, bring truth, I have to hold a field of remembrance of my divinity. and love and compassion for all my sisters and brothers of this earth who are in consensus state or who are making choices they will probably regret in the near future, based in fear and identification with the body and the ego. And so that's why I wanted to frame this up, because I wanted this to be an invitation to all of us to recognize what's going on. That we are, those of us here are, if you're here and you're listening to me, those of you who are here with me regularly, you're either, you may have been born in second or third stage consensus. I'm confusing myself. Second or third level of individuated, and now moving into, or already really seated in, first stage spiritual. And you may even be now moving into second stage spiritual, the teacher, the leader, the one who is deepening into the identification with the divinity that you truly are, rather than being solely a seeker. Okay? Our role is very, very different in some respects during this time of planetary tyranny. Planetary tyranny. Our role is to remember that we have the power through our alignment with divinity to raise the vibrational frequency of this earth to benefit all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of what stage they are in. Some of us are called to stand and fight as well. Maybe it has to do, you'll know by your life circumstances. I have many sister friends or several sister friends and family members who have children who are injured. And they are at the front line of saying no. I have sisters and brothers who have the training as lawyers or doctors or nurses, who are in positions where they have to stand really at that front line. When we do it from our powerful spiritual alignment, we have much more power than purely from that individuated state. Those sisters and brothers are important too. The people who are calling BS on this, the people who are doing the deep research, the people who are showing the dangers and the risks of this fake V, the lies behind all of that. But those of us who are here to hold the frequency of the priestess, who are doing our deep spiritual work on a daily basis, our role is to stay out of fear. If we are at the front line where we have to speak truth to power in an active frontline way, to do it in alignment with that Christed consciousness, the love that is the love that moves through us, the love as frequency. So let me pause for a moment here. I'm going to tune in. I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and put in the comments there any questions, comments. What's coming up for you as I share this? Let me just see here. Evelina, hello. Ayala says, so glad / relieved to hear your viewpoint on the mainstream farce. Have felt pretty alone with this understanding. Yeah, I'm just coming out stronger, and now I feel I wanted to wait until after Return of the Priestess too, because I had a dedication and a commitment to bringing that forward, to reaching more sisters, to serving, to serving the sisters who spoke in terms of helping them bring more exposure to their work, to all of you, to give you exposure to other sisters, to the organization that we created, we donated. I've been having trouble with the banking, but anyway, we're about to donate $8,000 to. So since that's in Trinidad, you can times 7, x 7 for that, what that's going to bring to them. And now it's time for me to really say the truth and to speak truth to power, but from the place of love. So I have never cooperated with tyranny. I have only one time worn the face covering, and that was to go vote. I will never take the injection because I know what's in it. I will not be in a position to allow that to be forced on me. I don't think it's going to happen, but so I have stopped traveling, hence my little house in the big forest. I will never even take the test. That's my free will choice, my guidance. I don't say that that's true for anyone else. We all have to follow our own guidance. And as we move more deeply into our spiritual state, either level 1, level 2, we follow our own guidance because we're connected with our guidance. And that will guide you. I have sister friends who know every shenanigan that's going on the planet. Their guidance is guiding them to travel internationally. They're okay with that. No judgment at all. We all have to follow our own guidance. That is the nature of the spiritual state, that we are able to do that we are willing to do that we first tune in to get connected with that before we make a decision, instead of following external authorities, trusting them, and being obedient to them. So just to kind of underscore this, if I haven't made it perfectly obvious, the authorities on this planet right now that are creating mandates, regulations, telling you stories about the nature of this reality on all levels, what history is, what truth is, what pathogens are, what risks are involved, what is safe and what isn't, are lying to all of us. The media lies. Lies, lies, and more lies. And those who are in the consensus state, because humans are divine eternal beings with a nature generally that is loving, kind, and caring and honest, cannot imagine that the authorities that they obey do not have their best interests at heart. They cannot imagine the depth and the breadth of greed, evil, desire for control, and just downright nastiness that's going on. So, this really sounds like a polarity, right? So why is this happening? Well, remember, when we get to this state of our spiritual state, we become aware of the true non-dual nature of reality. That actually, in a sense, we're co-creating it all. So who are all those bad guys? They're the outprojected, disowned parts of ourselves to which we've projected all of our negativity and then abnegated our own sovereignty to, I don't want to make decisions. You make them for me. And that's what happens. There's an old saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So for those of us in the individuated and spiritual states, we look at the world, we go like, how could people not see what's going on? How could they not see that these authorities are lying through their teeth and have conflicts of interest and vested interest in our weakening us and all the shenanigans going on? They can't, because they're not yet there. Those of us who start to look within at our own shadow material and do the forgiveness work and the healing work and the personal responsibility for every aspect of our lives, we start to see the world through a very different lens. And at first that brings up so much anger and rage. How could people not see that this is not unlike Nazi Germany? That the same playbook is being played out. Bolshevik revolution, same playbook playing out, because they're not in the consciousness state of that. So, we can choose to fight, rebel, be angry about it. We can choose to obey, close our eyes and hide. Or we can choose to say, right, I am a divine eternal being having a temporary experience. I am love. And I came to be here in these times to get as much of my own shadow work done personally and as much of my own forgiveness work done personally, that I may rise as a spiritual leader aligned with divinity in order to serve in these times and the times to come. Because we need a new kind of leadership on this earth. As those old unloving systems crumble and truth becomes revealed even to the consensus state, new leaders will need to rise, not big leaders who control whole countries and non-elected officials locking down an entire planet. Leaders in our communities, leaders in our families, leaders connected with our guidance, leaders willing to listen, to love first. That we may create connected with divinity. So in these times, for those of us who see the BS going on, and we get mad, we get upset, we get sad, we get heartbroken when our families make dangerous choices for themselves. When we do our spiritual work, when we forgive ourselves, we come to a place of spiritual liberation that allows us to hold a field of love for all the earth and to hold a level of psycho-spiritual stability during the most destabilizing time our human family has known in current written history. So it all comes back again to inner spiritual work, and it also comes back to finding each other and leaning into, in our case, the sisterhood of priestesses, to get support from each other that we may lift as we rise during such uncertain times. Love is always the answer. And the more we forgive ourselves, clear our own obstructions, go into our shadow, do all that work, the more we do that, right, the more able we are to hold, to be that vessel of the divine feminine, to be the vessel of love, and to be at peace even amidst the chaos, the confusion, the distress, the judgment, the attack, all of that stuff. So let's just take a breath, and then I see a lot of comments have come in. Thank you. I'm going to address them. So just taking a breath, let yourself take in whatever feels aligned for you to take in with that right now. Notice how it integrates with your personal life, your personal story. And I invite you to open now to your own life, to your own soul's long journey through eternity, and the lessons, the blessings, the challenges, the knots that you came to untie in this life, the blessings you came to receive, the patterns you came to finally release. And however this message is in service to you, even if it's challenging and uncomfortable, I invite you to just sit with it a bit and notice what's here for you. Okay, I'm going to look at these messages. Thank you, everyone. Sophia, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Amy says, I'm so grateful that my husband and 2 sons are all on the same viewpoint. I feel it allows us to hold a much greater energy for the collective, and it has allowed us to create a strength as a family. Beautiful, Amy, and I am so grateful that that's true for you as well, because many families are being split over this, as we know. And yes, indeed, you are a strong force, that you are all together on this. I have the same thing to be grateful for. Bet says, yes, I've been... Oops, my cursor's in the way. Moving into the deeper stages, focusing more on my own inner desires that keep my vibe high, saying no to others so I can hold the light and love frequency in my own agenda. No jabber test here too. Yeah, so the sacred no, that's a whole nother beautiful topic, like honoring our own boundaries. That's a big part of reclaiming our sovereignty and re-owning our boundaries. Sophia says it is time for us to step into our power through accountability, conscious living, and choosing to recognize each present moment and our power within and choosing to use it. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Beautiful words. Thank you, Sophia. Tanya, welcome, Tanya, says, at last, one leading voice in the spiritual community speaking truth. In gratitude, sister, your courage is contagious and much needed. Love and strength from Australia. Thank you, Tanya. Yes, it has been an interesting journey. I know there are many of us, actually. I have many priestess sister friends who know what's going on, and they will never, ever take the jab. They know what's in those things. And we know that it is, we're not even going to go there in this call. And many others who are sadly not, they're not researching behind the mainstream research. And it's okay, we all do what we need to do. But I have, all through last year, as many of you who were with me throughout last year, I have certainly made touchstone points about this, but not come out quite as strongly. The censorship is quite intense. And what I've been saying is that if you were not already in the slipstream of truth before the censorship got clamped down heavy, it's very hard anymore to find out the truth. You have to know where to look. And you have to also, the other thing I've said is, I've heard many people in the truther community say this is an intelligence test. I feel like it's not an intelligence test, and that's a real insult because we see so many very intelligent people cooperating with the tyranny and go, like, how can you not see what's going on? It's a spiritual test. The mind control, the MK Ultra mind control that has been going on this planet for decades now, makes it extremely hard for most people in consensus and individuated state, and maybe even those moving, the seeker state, moving into that first stage spiritual, to really get that little inner voice that goes, uh-oh. If we have a lot of stuff we're clearing in our own lives, or a lot of mental activity, or if we're just not in that place evolutionarily, or maybe if we weren't there at the fall of Atlantis, maybe that's what it is, I don't know, or the fall of Lemuria, we don't have that little voice that goes, I smell a rat. Something feels off. And so it's hard to, I don't judge those who are not getting this. I don't, because there's something else going on. It's like it's our spiritual graduation in a sense. I have had people reach out to me who you would never think they're not spiritual. I mean, they might be a little bit, they might be, but they're not otherwise in a place where they would have any inclination about this, or they're not like in the truther movement or any of that stuff. And they reach out to me and they go, what do you think about this jab? Something feels weird to me. I'm not really comfortable with it. And then I've worked with very highly spiritual women, I work mostly, and men too, my husband working with men, who are like, they're at the front of the line. So it's kind of shocking. So I really think each soul has its own journey. We are all divine eternal beings. We are all held always in Divine Mother's arms. And our journeys are different. And at this time on earth, there is a bifurcation of the human experience of those, and it's very clear based on those who are willing to cooperate with the dominant suggestion of what will keep us safe, and those who are going, nah, I got an immune system. I'm not going to take that thing that might hijack my consciousness. No, thank you. I'm gonna work with my own stuff here. So let us hold the love light for all of our sisters and brothers, whatever their choice is, and really lean into each other in the sisterhood to gain support, especially for those of us who feel like we're an island alone with regard to these decisions that are seeming to be forced upon us at this time. Okay, so let's see. Sophia says they don't want to because ignorance allows them to not be accountable. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Ignorance being when you don't know what you don't know, right? So we have been conditioned on this planet for a long time to not be accountable for our actions, to abnegate, which means to give up our personal responsibility to external authorities. That is the nature of this ego's playground, to externalize what we don't want to deal with. But now it's been so conditioned into us that we have a whole planet that's being controlled. I mean, it's crazy. This is the force, the pressure for us to finally wake up and go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, thanks. I'll take my power back. And then Sophia says, leaders who empower. Yeah. You know, back when I was getting my degree in women's studies, I created a kind of general mission statement for my life. My role is to help women empower themselves. And I say that very specifically. I cannot empower anyone. That by itself, by definition, would mean that someone would have to abnegate their personal empowerment to me, to empower them. My role is to help women empower themselves through information, through guidance, through ceremony, through prayer, through inspiration. So yeah, leaders who empower. That is what we're moving into. Ayala put a bracket with a thing. I don't know what that means. And then there's a whole bunch of brackets there. I don't know what that means. Is that some kind of code? Let me know, Ayala, what that means. And then Sophia writes, love allows us to transmute those around us and help them heal and tune into higher frequency. Okay, so this is great. Thank you, Sophia, for this. Let me just stretch my knee here. So, alchemy, transmuting base metal into gold. When we do our inner forgiveness work, we alchemize the base metal of our lower frequency emotions into the gold of love, unconditional acceptance. When we do it together in a group, through ceremony, through gathering, through prayer, meditation, as with my retreat that I just had, we potently have the power to transmute the collective shadow, and with love to raise the vibrational frequency on earth. And that is what we are up to individually and collectively. That is, to me, the role of one of the key roles of the priestess in these times. Sorry, I keep fixing these little wings in my hair. So I invite us all to continue to deepen into our spiritual practice, because that is the power of these times. It comes not from external force. It comes from inner realignment with divinity. So I just want to look here again at my, let's see, cooperation with tyranny, global control. Okay, I'm going to touch on this. I'm going to add a link to this thread that I want to encourage you to watch. It's subtitled because it is spoken in German. It's only about 5-6 minutes long, and I don't really know the backstory of it. Maybe on maybe the page it says, but basically, those global elites who are controlling the planet right now through their puppets that look like heads of state, heads of corporation, heads of social media, etc., have been planning this precise series of events that we've been undergoing for the past year and a half, almost. Since 2010, they rolled it out. It is called lock and then the word step. Okay, in one word though. And I'm saying that because we know there's censorship, right? So algorithms read things, etc. So, sorry. So Ayala wrote all of those things when I asked her, what are all those things? She goes, oh, sorry, my cat walked on the keyboard. So I'm going to take that as our cat goddess Sekhmet blessing. Thank you, Ayala, for bringing the Sekhmet blessings. And then Sophia wrote, inspire to empower. And Paula, Hi. Paula says namaste. And Amy says absolutely. And then Sophia says, finding this group has helped me. I'm grateful. Well, I'm grateful to have you here, Sophia. Very grateful to have you here. And then Sophia says, love allows us to transmute those around us. Oh, I already read that. Yeah. And then Tammy, hey, good morning, sister. Welcome. She's traveling and tuning in late. Well, glad to have you here. So again, I'm going to share with you a video where you can see, this is more related to the global control piece. If you're interested, you can watch this. It's brief. You got to read the subtitles unless you understand German. And it is about the plan that has been in place at least since 2010. It's probably been in place longer than that. Very clearly, this is an agenda for total global planetary control, and they are counting on our cooperation with tyranny in order to succeed. I have been saying since March 11th, 2020, cooperation with tyranny never leads to freedom. I have a strong rebel in me too, a strong, that individuated rebel truther. Cooperation with tyranny never leads to freedom. Those of us who are passing the spiritual test, I don't know if you could say it that way, maybe that doesn't feel fair to those who are now waking up and realize that maybe they've made a mistake about the jab. But those of us who recognize and smelled a rat from the get-go, but who are also on a spiritual path, have also begun to understand that the more I do my spiritual work, the more I double down on my spiritual practice, the more I help not only my own peace of mind, but when I have my own peace of mind and I emanate that out into the field, I uplift others. I offer a frequency for others to ride for their own awakening. And so I know I've been saying this, I'm kind of coming at it from different ways, and I feel like we're almost at an hour now, so it's time to wrap up here. So let me just tune in one more time to see if there's any other messages here, and then we'll wrap up. Paula says, yes, cat goddess, aho. And Sophia says, this is why they use I'm just going to say the fake pathogen that begins with a C, to condition the brain to collectivist thinking. That's putting the needs of the state and the group before your personal needs. Yes, Sophia, you know about that. That's a whole nother, yeah, right? I mean, I learned about all that this year too. Putting the needs of the state and the group before the personal needs. This is what the masks and everything has been about. Absolutely. It's all behavior modification, training, and conditioning in order to, first of all, test and see how obedient people are willing to be, and also to get their brains conditioned to abnegating personal sovereignty in the name of the greater good. With a specious, which means a fake, basically, you have to look it up, a false pretense of a risk that was never what it said it was, and that's a whole nother story. So anyway, I realize that that those of you here you're tracking with me, you get this. Those of you who didn't, maybe already left. I realize there are going to be some sisters who watch this later. Maybe now they've already left because this is offensive to them or doesn't resonate. As I always say, take what works for you, leave the rest. I'm here to be in service to this awakening, and I'm here in the name of love. I know that there are certain sisters and perhaps brothers, yes, brothers, I work with a few men too, that I am called to serve at a soul level, that I have a soul contract to fulfill. And I have kept my mouth shut or really tiptoed around things for a year in order to not offend certain people and to really serve to the best of my ability. And now we're at the point now where this nonsense has got to stop. There's a full spectrum attack on humanity, and people are cooperating with it because they believe the dominant narrative. And so if I offend some people, I want to tell you that I love you, and it's okay. And I don't need to tiptoe anymore to keep other people comfortable. And I realize that sometimes we do need to do that with family members or loved ones, and that's true. But in terms of this role, in this capacity here. So if it doesn't resonate with you and you need to leave the group or don't want to listen to this, that's totally cool. There are many spiritual teachers here you can, on the planet that you can align with, and many, many ways for you to do your soul's journey. But in this space, I'm speaking what is my truth and finding those who resonate with that. So Evelina says we love you. Inga's sending me lots of love and hearts too. Paula says, the reptile video really helped me understand why others can't hear the truth. Yes, absolutely. You know what? I'm going to find that and put that one here too, about the reptilian brain. And when you're in fight or flight, you can't hear the other stuff because you're in fear. And that's part of the agenda. The more people are in fear, the more they'll cooperate with a powerful voice of leadership that is actually tyrannical and stealing their sovereignty. So, okay. The truth will indeed set us free. And it is time now for us to begin to speak the truth. As the bifurcation comes and we no longer can kind of rescue those who have already taken that other track, it's time to start saying, right, how can I lead and serve my sisters who know what's going on, that we are strong in these times. So that's what I'm here for now. So Beth says, thank you for your words and presence this morning. Such a blessing to be here. Yes, thank you all, sisters, so very much. Thank you. I will leave 2 links in here for you to watch. One, again, the German guy. I think he's some kind of parliamentary person. I really don't know. And then this piece from Dr. Larry Palevsky that describes the reptilian brain and how it reacts, and that helps us to understand why some of our sisters and brothers that we feel like, what? Shouldn't you know by now what's going on? Are actually making choices that we're going, danger, don't do that. It really is, I find it deeply insightful as well. So I want to offer all of you much love and bright blessings. For those of you who are here who may be interested in Mother Spirit for this year, if you have not yet filled out the application or personally reached out to me, please do so right away, because my second group is already starting to fill up. I can see I've got a lot coming on, and I would love to work with you, of course. I do have other plans for this summer as well. But more on that another time. We've been going long now, and it's time for me to have my breakfast. I'm sending you much love and bright blessings. I thank you and wish the very best for you and all your loved ones in these times, and really honor your sacred walk on this earth at this time. And I will see you next Sunday, if not sooner. Bye for now. Mwah.